This is Healing with Haley, episode 45, Why Small Wins Matter. 3 beliefs that are making your goals harder to achieve. Welcome to Healing with Haley. I'm your coach, Haley Kirk. On this podcast, we dive into ways to heal, embrace, and truly love our lives. Here's my belief. So much of our suffering comes from what we believe. I'm here to help you understand your mind and question those thoughts to start your healing journey. Ready to get started? Let's go. What is up, you guys? I am so excited for this podcast episode, but a little nervous. I feel like I'm a novice. That's not the right word. I am a baby when it comes to the world of fitness and health, but I've learned so much along the way, so I'm going to share it. And I could be wrong, so tell me if I'm wrong, but here's what I've learned. So the other day, even preparing for this podcast, I was like, oh, wow. I thought this whole time I was getting a DEXA scan. So what I got was called an in-body scan, which uses bioelectrical impedance, BIA, to estimate bone, fat, and lean mass. However, factors can affect the accuracy of the results. A DEXA scan uses X-rays to measure bone density, fat mass, and muscle mass. And DEXA scans are generally considered to be more accurate than in-body scans. And I realized that DEXA scans are actually like laying down, but in an in-body scan, you're standing up and you're holding sensors. So, my bad. I told a lot of people, I was like, I got a DEXA scan. I feel so silly. Oh, isn't it funny how much we don't know and we just keep learning? But I wanted to talk about this on the podcast because I just realized how much chatter was going on. And I've gotten really good. At least I've been exercising and it's getting stronger and stronger. The muscle in my mind of just listening and being aware of my thoughts. So I went and got this in-body scan at the gym the other day, at my lovely Gold's Gym. I love Gold's Gym. And it was so interesting, guys. Almost everything was the same. A lot of things were the same, except for my fat mass. And my fat mass was 33.8 pounds. And this was on November 13th. And then I compared my results from June 14th of 2023, and I had 36.2 pounds of fat mass. When I got the scan, I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I just had thought that one, my muscle mass, my skeletal muscle would be higher, but it was the same. Actually, I might have lost a little bit of skeletal muscle. So there's SMM, which stands for skeletal muscle mass. On this most recent November scan, I had 62.2 pounds. And then in June 14th of 2023, I had 62.4. So I'm pretty much maintaining how much muscle mass I have, which is interesting because I started implementing creatine. I started going to the gym a lot more frequently. I would say on average, if I'm being 1,000% honest, I am consistently going 3 to 4 times a week. When back then, I was probably going 2 to 4 times a week. Granted, I have increased my cardio because I've started to do my heels business and I do choreographies every week. Regardless to say, there was so much chatter going on. And I started looking at everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I lost my junk in my trunk and all these things, right? So I started comparing all the data and I was just like, wow, there's so much going on in my brain. And here's something interesting. I just wanted to read one of the aspects of this data. It says, monitoring your weight is not enough. Weight can be misleading when used as an indicator of health. Anyone may experience frustration when their weight shows no change, even with exercise and an improved nutrition. Your body's a complex structure made of different components, such as body water, fat, and muscle. Your body cannot be expressed with one simple number. You guys, I will always be an advocate of kicking that stupid weight scale out of your bathroom. Like just please destroy it with a hammer. Because I don't think it serves us. I think that the majority of people use it as a tool to hate themselves and to be mad at themselves and to shame themselves. I hate the scale. I don't think it serves us. I was talking to one of my bodybuilder friends, you know who you are, and they were saying, made a really good point. They were like, if you are 500-pound life person, right? And that would be useful to have a scale, because if you consciously stop eating the terrible things you're doing and start exercising even just a little, you're gonna see massive improvements. And so I was like, okay, I could see it being, reliable in that instance. And maybe for someone who's like a bodybuilder, that could, because every little pound, I guess, kind of matters for, in fighting, right? There's there's outliers. There are outliers where a scale is useful. I think these scans are such a great tool, because you can somewhat reliably compare and differentiate all the aspects of your body, right? So, okay, I have this value of water, right? Like for me, it was 81.8 pounds, extracellular water and intracellular water. How cool is that, right? Cells have water. I don't know how I forgot about that, but I forgot. So then I have lean body mass, and it compares it to dry lean mass, and then body fat mass. How cool is that? That's 111.8 pounds of lean body mass. And then total body water, 81.8. To make a total of 145.6 pounds. Now, in my old days, I would have been very scared about that number, 145.6. In my college days, I was around 130. And I liked to stay around 130. But I wasn't lifting, right? I wasn't building muscle. That wasn't important to me at that time. What was important to me at that time was to look really skinny. And I don't like that goal anymore. I like the idea of building muscle and sculpting my body. That for me is rewarding and exciting, and I like how I feel. I like how it trains my brain. I feel like the muscle I'm training the most is my brain. I love watching myself overcome, the physical pressure of something. It's really rewarding. And so those are my whys, right? I think whenever you're setting a goal, especially a fitness goal, it is so important to figure out why. And the whole reason I thought this would be really relevant is because, y'all, we're going into the holiday season. We are about to eat a big old turkey with potatoes, with mac and cheese, rolls, pies, stuffing, cranberry sauce, all the alcoholic beverages of your choice. If you don't drink alcohol, the ciders, right? There's gonna be such delicious food. I don't think this human experience is meant for us to be perfect at eating the clean, lean, eat machine things all the time. I don't think that serves us, right? I think it's fun to indulge in, especially in tradition and communion and gathering. I think it's wonderful, right? But you are the one who's in control of what goes on your plate also, right? So you can have all of those yummy things in moderation or not, but I just want you to consider, right? Like, why do you have these goals of gaining muscle, losing some fat mass, I really don't want people to have this weight loss gain or this weight loss goal. And the reason I don't like it is because let's think about this for a second. Let's say you look like, however you judge your body, right? Let's say you don't like how you look naked when you're about to go in the shower. You're like, oh, I don't like how I look. Okay, that's interesting to know, right? Your body, your brain, for whatever reason, you're comparing yourself to Instagram models, Victoria's Secret model, whatever. You're like, I don't look like this ideal image that I've been conditioned to believe. And attraction is conditioned, believe it or not. So, okay, let's say, I just want to play this hypothetical to really push your whys. You looked a little bit leaner, it was like a little bit, and you hit your goal. Let's say you lost the 20 pounds, but you didn't look any different. Let's say it was like a little difference in like maybe your neck is a little thinner or something, right? What if that was true? Like, what if your ideal weight didn't really change the composition of your body? Isn't that weird to think, right? Like, and that's usually not the case, but I think it's so much more fun to think about like how to build your body, right? How do you want, because that's what's so fun and so possible with health is that you can build your body. You can even create illusions for your body and all without surgery, right? Like all this is so cool. Learning from Jillian Michaels, Making the Cut is one of her books that she wrote, and I love, and has really helped me learn about health and fitness, is that you can develop your trap muscles and your lat muscles and create like a little bit of a thicker upper body to create the illusion of a triangle so that it makes your waist look thinner. And I think that it's so cool, all these tricks, and there's even these tricks that she has where you can only exercise your obliques, or even not exercise the obliques, depending on what kind of look you're going for. I think that's so fun. It's like, wow, we can piece together this body that it's like a masterpiece. Like we're like a sculptor of our own body. It's so fun. We're like, I'm the Da Vinci of my body. But I just don't think weight goals serve us. I don't. I think that it's a lot of pressure on a number that isn't even really all that reliable. And who cares, right? Like, I think what feels better for me, and I'll speak for myself, is like how I look in certain clothing, right? Like, I don't even care anymore about the size of my clothing because all these different brands have different sizing and they're industrialized. And that's good, right? That's actually a kind of a cool thing. That's why clothes are so cheap because they can say, here's a medium. And it's not, a lot of clothes aren't tailored to our bodies. All of our bodies are different and beautiful in their own ways. And I learned about this industrialization from a book called More Than a Body. And I love most of it. Some of it I don't agree with, and the tonality and political correctness. Anyway, but I do love a lot of parts of that book. And I think one of the takeaways from that book for me was the industrialization of clothing and fabrics. And it's like smalls, larges, extra larges, mediums, extra smalls, right? All these sizes are meant to make it easier on the manufacturers. And I love what one of the takeaways was. It's my clothes are auditioning for me, not the other way around. So if I can't fit into a small, well, too bad for that small, right? Because I'm a medium now, apparently. And there's a lot of drama that happens in the scale, how much I weigh, what size I am, how tall, how short, how much fat I carry on my stomach, right? And it's just so interesting how much pressure is put onto our bodies and our image. And I just want to poke holes on all of it, right? Like it's so interesting to think about beauty standards throughout the ages. Like in ancient Egypt, they would put black eyeliner, they would pluck their eyebrows and pluck like the hairline so it would go back and wear wigs. Like, ow. And that trend actually came back in the Victorian era. They would shave their hairline so it would recede back. And same with they would remove the eyebrows, remove the eyelashes, like they would even put these like really dangerous dyes because amber hair was really beautiful. It's like the things that women do. And recently there was I think some radiologist did a scan on a woman who had done Botox for many, many years. And her skin had a lot of chemicals that had spread throughout the face. And, people have died getting Brazilian butt lifts, breast implants. Like the extent we are willing and in a way pressured to look a certain way is interesting, right? It's interesting. It's good to know as well, like, do I really want to subject myself to those standards? Because here's the interesting thing. If history is telling us a story, it's this: we're never going to be good enough. We won't. Like, if you think about it, in the 90s, right? It was thin eyebrows, thin lips, thin bodies, right? Think of Friends, like the cast of Friends. Then it's the Kardashians. Thick eyebrows, thick lips, thick boobs, thick butt, like big, 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 small waist, right? And if you think about, it's like the Roman Empire, I believe. There was these women and they had pudgy stomachs and thick legs. And it's just so interesting. It all depends on if you hit the genetic lottery at a very specific time in history, then you're accepted. Then you're okay. Then you'll be good enough. This is according to, right, the mainstream beauty standards. But what if we just accept, like, okay, like, I'm fine not being accepted into that beauty standard. I'm going to have my own beauty. I'm going to be different. I'm going to go against the current. I'm going to do something that works for me, right? And I've started to go through this journey as well, where I analyze a lot of my insecurities. Like, my insecurities are the size of my boobs, as well as, I breastfed my son, so now they're a little bit like a little droopy a little bit. And I also have like a little bit of a pudge. Like sometimes when I'm really bloated, it looks like I'm pregnant. And I have cellulite on my legs. I have really white skin. Like I think one of my biggest ones is like I have this pull or this urge to spray tan quite a bit. And because I'm very insecure about my color of my skin. I just think it's so white, and I have a big preference to be tanner. And not that that's a bad thing at all. I've just noticed my thoughts, really. Right now I'm white, and I was at the gym today and I was like, man, I would look so much better tan. And that's a thought, right? And that's a thought, and that creates a lot of insecurity for me, believing that thought. And I tried to balance it, right? I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty white, but it's okay. It's okay to be white. We can be white. It's Snow White season for me. And then once springtime comes, I can be Pocahontas again. So anyway, I wanted to share this because I am doing right now a really cool program called Love Your Body. And what I do is I take you through a 6-week step-by-step program to help you through this, because I have done so much work on my body. And week 1, we're going to understand your body thoughts. So I'm going to have you guys go through these exercises where we like talk about all your insecurities. We would, like, for me, right? My skin should be tanner. My skin shouldn't be so white. That's a judgment, right? And that'd be an example. And then I help you like poke holes in it, break it down. and just question, question, question. I do not ask you to stop believing in a thought. I won't ask you to do that because your ego would fight me. And we just want to make friends with ego and kind of talk to ego like a toddler throwing a tantrum, right? And toddlers are just confused with a lot of what's going on in the world, right? They're very helpless. And sometimes we are very helpless, especially when we consider what we're thinking and believing, right? So, week 2, I meet your thoughts with compassion. We just shower you with compassion and really understand why you're doing certain habits, why you're believing certain things, and not that the discovery of where that came from is necessarily important, but understanding that actions came from a thought is really where that compassion piece comes in, because the only thing you're really guilty of is believing a stressful thought. Once that's what you're guilty of, then that thought just creates its own feelings and actions and results. Then what we do after that is we challenge the cultural conditioning. A lot of what I was talking about with, the eras and the modernized industry of what's the word? The clothing industry. And then week 5, we cultivate body gratitude. I have so many exercises that I've learned from various actually celebrities that I have found to be very inspiring, like Kate Hudson. She wrote a book called Pretty Happy, and she has amazing exercises that she utilizes in her book. And Cameron Diaz, Jillian Michaels, these are all women that are very inspiring and take really great care of their bodies. Not to say that their bodies are idealized. I think that for me, my goal when I'm coaching people is I want them to truly love their body. We can get to acceptance, but that's my goal. I want to give you the transformation of loving your body wherever it's at. If it's 50 pounds overweight, 100 pounds of whatever. If it's, gone through some crazy car accident, some surgery, some freak accident, right? Like whatever has happened to your beautiful body, I want you to get to a place of loving it and accepting it and then taking care of it, because it's so hard to take care of something that you don't love. Point blank. It is so hard to take care of something you don't love. And when we come from a place of love, right, feelings, and I teach you a model, I show you everything that I use with my coaching clients, and I show you this model that's another tool. If you have a result that you want for your fitness or your health or in your body, right, we can start from a feeling, and what kind of thoughts would create that feeling. So that's week 5. And then week 6 is letting go and moving forward. And letting go, or offering that as an option, right? You don't have to let those thoughts go. But I kind of just want to loosen the grip that it has on you and the actions that you take in your day-to-day. So that is available. If you guys are interested, I have a free 30-minute coaching session that we can do to look at your goals and talk more about what you're trying to achieve. And from there, we could start that journey together. And it's only $300 to join my Love Your Body program. Okay, I had to do my plug. So the chatter that I had from my in-body scan was this. And here's like the 3 thoughts that came up for me, and I know are so relatable for all of us. It was, that's it. Because how is it that I added creatine to my exercise regimen, right? I started drinking it during my exercises. I learned so many interesting things about creatine. If you guys are interested, I'll post a podcast link to everything about creatine in the show notes. It's this guy, I can't remember his name, but he has done like years and years of study on creatine and realized how safe it was, and it really helps to recover the muscles quicker and helps them to grow. So yeah, I was like implementing creatine. I was going to the gym very consistently, and what I thought to myself was, that's it. I only lost about 3 pounds of fat. You guys, first of all, 1 pound of fat is a lot. Like, I remember when I was in college, they opened up this like health and fitness center, and they had this exhibit where they had this like rubber block, which was, I believe, 5 pounds. Yeah, it was 5 pounds of fat. And it's big, guys. It's like, I would say it's almost half of a ruler, right? Like half of a ruler, and it's like thick. It's like a brick. It's like a brick size, but a big brick. And then 5 pounds of muscle. It's like, my hands are kind of small, but it's like the size of like a female hand, like just like a big mango, like a mango. That's like it's tight and it's compact and it's like dense, but it's dense, you know? And I loved that visual because I was like, wow, building muscle is really important for our physical health, and it keeps the body nice and tight, right? And it's crazy what fat does inside the body, and it's just, our body doesn't know what to do with it, and it just stores it, right? So it's super, super interesting. Losing 3 pounds of fat, very impressive. It's very impressive. And when I think about that visual, it's like a lot, right? A lot of fat. So it's very tempting to say that's it, right? This thought downplays the small accomplishment and fuels the idea that only big dramatic progress matters. How amazing is that, right? Like, if you really think about people who have made huge impacts in their lives, they didn't have big wins really fast. And I almost think I've had my coaches even tell me that having a big win right at the beginning is probably not the best either, because then it just kind of gives you this false perception of reality that hard things are easy. And I'm like, that's a good point. That's a very good point. So small wins are the stepping stones to larger success. Every time you think that's it, we can remind ourselves that the small changes compound over time to create big results. A really famous Mormon quote is, by small means, big things come to pass. And I'm like, yes, that's so true. If you really think about, and oh, there's such a good book. It is called The Compound Effect. I'm gonna link that there. And that's the whole premise of the book, is that just little tiny, tiny actions you take every day, whatever it is, towards your business, towards your podcast, towards your fitness, towards your finances, like all the little tiny, tiny things that you're doing are going to be drastic. He even, in that book, Compound Effect, he compared the same person in 3 different aspects. It was, he consumed an extra 300 calories. He stayed at his calorie intake, and then he decreased 300 calories. And it was crazy over the span of 1 year, over the span of 3 years, 5 years. And he compared how much that person might weigh and how much fat they might increase. And it's just wild. It was very impactful, and it stayed with me. Number 2, I should be further along by now. Y'all, I really like building my booty. It's fun watching it grow. But I think that to myself. I'm like, I should be further along by now. And it just doesn't feel right. This thought is it's sneaky, right? It sounds like a nice thought, but it's not. This belief creates unnecessary pressure and fosters a comparison to others and your past self, right? It can lead to frustration, discouragement, and even giving up because, well, it's almost like, well, whatever, you know? And there's this idea I heard the other day that was like, what? It's called failing ahead. What that means is, if you set a goal And then instead of waiting for you to fail, so let's say I want to build 10 pounds of muscle mass by 6 months. And then 1 month in, you're just like, I'm just going to give up because I don't want to get to 6 months and realize that I couldn't do it. Isn't that wild? So I failing ahead. I have seen myself do that so many times where I'm like, I really want to post this live event, or I really want to host this party for my friends, and it's okay. Like because I would really hate the idea of no one showing up. Because for me, that's a in quote unquote failure. Yeah, I definitely believe that's a failure in my head. And I'm happy to, do the inner work, but yeah, wild, right? So it would just be better for us to just not do it and give up. And then it's okay if no one shows up because I didn't even plan it anyways. Wild. Wild how our brains work. A reframe or an optional thought is your progress is your own and growth is not linear, right? So I really love this idea. Michael Phelps, pretty much no one can touch him as far as how many gold medals a person has won. So he has won 23, and the next person I believe won 17. So he just blew people out of the water. No pun intended. No pun intended. But he often would say this: I only compare myself to myself. And I love that quote. I love that that was his mantra for his success and his pursuit in his swimming, is comparing himself to himself. He wouldn't compare himself to, because here's what's interesting, it's actually kind of limiting to compare yourself to other people. Think about it. If Michael Phelps had compared himself to his high school team or his college team or any club swim that he did, he wouldn't beat Michael Phelps. He would just be better than Joe Schmo. So if we are just constantly measuring ourselves to ourselves, of course, at some point we will rise above, right? Not necessarily, but if it is allowing you to have an open ceiling of what's possible instead of a close range target like I want to beat him because ego says. All right, y'all. Now, number 3, if I can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing. So these are for my perfectionists out there. This is so interesting. This is why I love the idea of B- work. This is why I love the idea of James Clear in his book Atomic Habits talks about a professor who divided the class into 2, and he assigned one half of the room to take that it was the quantity of photos that he would be graded on. And then the other half of the group was you only turn in one photo, but it has to be like amazing. And the group who took the most photos performed better and produced better photography because they were testing things out. They were practicing instead of like going into analysis paralysis and not actually honing in their skills. So I also love this concept of B- work because it gets things done. A lot of times we think things need to be perfect, but things just need to be done and okay, right? And over time, we keep, increasing the heat a little bit. We just increase the intensity. So I leave these 3 things for you guys to question when you're attempting any goal in fitness, in finance, in relationships, in career goals, business goals, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in this coming new year. I want you guys to question these thoughts that come up for you whenever you're trying to, or even when you're setting these goals. Ask why. Like, why do I want to lose 20 pounds? Is it because I've always wanted to do that? Is it because of what society is telling me to do? how do I think I'm going to feel once I have 20 pounds? How can I have that feeling right now and enjoy the process of losing the 20 pounds? And I'm all for reaching goals. I just want to know why. Do you think it'd be more beneficial for you to consider building muscle or consider weight training? Do you think that you're going for more of an aesthetic? Are you trying to look a certain way? Because why not, right? And there's nothing wrong with preferences. We just want to question why we have those preferences. A lot of the times it's attached to ego. Ego is another way of saying like just unconscious thought, things that are just told to us because this is what I was on Instagram, this is what on TikTok, this is what my mom said, and all these unconscious beliefs that we don't really question, right? Sometimes what I get a lot from Instagram models and workout models is like my abs should literally be ripped, tone, never bloated. And that's just not reality. So I'd love to know how they're never bloated. But aside from my point, I just, it's important to question, right? Why do we have these goals? You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, thank you. I hope you guys enjoy Turkey Day. I am recording this on November 26th, the Tuesday before Thursday, November 28th. I want you guys to indulge, enjoy, laugh, eat, be merry, be well, enjoy that food, and know that it's okay. Everything's gonna be all right. Future you has got you. You can enjoy this delicious meal with your family, create memories, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to Healing with Haley. If you enjoyed this episode, I think you'll love my new 6-week coaching program. It's designed to help women embrace and love their bodies just as they are. Together, we'll explore your thoughts, meet them with compassion, and start releasing the ones that hold you back. Ready to start your journey to self-love? Join me and let's make this change together. Click the link in the podcast description below.